You thought the Easter eggs from Zootopia 2 were over, but there's still a lot to talk about in this movie. Are you ready to discover everything you didn't see in Zootopia 2? Movies. You know that in the Zootopia universe, they have their own version of Disney, and of course, the most famous movies in the world would show up there. There's a scene where we can see Duke, that thief Judy arrested in the first movie, selling some very well-known DVDs. There's Frozen 2, or better said, in Zootopia, this movie is called Frozen 12. It looks like Elsa and Anna's story is more than 10 movies ahead of ours. Jealous already? And look how curious that is. In the original Frozen, Sven is a reindeer, but in the Zootopia version, they replaced him with a moose. Why do you think they did that? Duke is also selling a weird version of Rapunzel from Tangled, where the main character is a horse, and there's also Indalama Jones, where cinema's greatest archaeologist is played by a llama. This movie is full of references, so we invite you to sit back and enjoy every Easter egg from Zootopia 2. Get comfy and come with us, because another Cinewave is about to start. The couple. Judy and Nick are a couple, and they have a son. Wait, what? Calm down. This is one of the biggest scenes in the movie, and also a clear reference for fans who always theorized that they would date in the future. At the beginning of the movie, Judy and Nick pretend to be a couple, and they even take that former Fox partner in crime pretending to be their son. The two officers are investigating the city's port, so they decide to disguise themselves as parents. The anteater who bumps into them at the port finds it strange and asks, "A bunny and a fox together?" And Nick answers, "Yes, but we're proud parents first." This is an Easter egg because many fans always believed the two would end up together, but Disney didn't allow that and instead decided to give fans a gift, showing the protagonists pretending to be a couple. Bellweather. Former Mayor Bellweather is a character basically promised for Zootopia 3. We will absolutely watch a third movie in the franchise, continuing Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde's adventure. At one moment in the movie, Nick is arrested for helping a snake, and inside the jail he runs into former Mayor Bellweather again. But for a silly reason, he ends up freeing the prisoners. And that was a huge mistake, because in the middle of the chaos, Bellweather manages to escape. In other words, the creators already made it very clear that the next movie's villain might have something to do with Bellweather. Of course, there's still a surprise involving this character, but that's a topic for later. You're pretty excited to watch Zootopia 3, right? We'll have to wait for Disney to officially confirm the sequel, but it's almost certain it'll arrive in the next few years. Gary. Now we finally understand why Disney revealed the snake Gary's name almost a year before the movie came out. The truth is that in this film, the new character only says his own name to Judy after an entire hour of story. This is something most Zootopia fans didn't notice because they already knew the character's name for more than a year. And that was a trick Disney used so nobody would feel bothered. The truth is that the way the story works, Gary could only introduce himself to Judy once they finally had a quiet moment to talk. And that doesn't happen at the beginning because either Gary is running from Judy or Judy is running from the police, since she becomes a suspect in a crime. That's why one detail you probably didn't notice is that Gary only says his own name long after the movie has already started. The festival. There's a joke in this movie that younger fans won't understand, but it's one of the biggest memes in recent years because of a huge scandal, the Fire Festival. When Judy, Gary, and Pobbert are running through the desert, they find a group of animals dancing and trying to have fun, but everyone is wearing costumes and gathered in the middle of the sandy desert. That's when Pobbert asks what that place is. The scene cuts, a moose spits fire on a sign, and suddenly the words "burning mammal" appear. That was a big joke because years ago there was supposed to be a massive, super expensive event called Fire Festival, but when people arrived there, it was nothing like what they had been promised. It was the movie's way of joking about one of the biggest event failures in history, but Disney knew younger fans wouldn't understand the reference, so we're explaining it here for you. Zoogle. A joke Disney knew most fans would catch is Judy searching the Lynx family history on a website called Zoogle. This was one of the easiest references to spot during the movie. It's an Easter egg for Google, the most famous search engine in the world. But when the search appears on the screen, we also see another site making another cool reference. In the real world, there's a pop culture magazine called Variety, but in the movie they changed it to Variety. A pretty fun detail, right? The carrot. One of the most interesting details in this movie is how hard they work to create Easter eggs based on the real world, and a really fun one appears when we look at Judy's laptop. If you pay close attention to the laptop lid, you'll see a bitten carrot logo. The same design appears on her phone, and it's a big Easter egg for Apple and the iPhone. The funny part is that we're talking about a carrot, the main food of rabbits. Does that mean that in the Zootopia universe, the creator of the world's most famous smartphones is a rabbit? That's interesting because everyone would love to see Judy next to a rabbit who isn't one of her 250 siblings. So is the carrot phone creator a nice guy or a villain? We'll find out in Zootopia 3. Are you excited for Zootopia 3? Comment number yes so we can find each other. The villain. Speaking of the villain, it's important to point out a detail that, although everyone saw it, almost nobody understood correctly. We think it's time to reveal that the true villain of this movie is Pobbert, the youngest son of the Lynx family. He pretends to be a nice guy, but he ends up betraying our heroes. And one thing almost nobody noticed is that he's a predator. Remember how in the first movie there was a clear separation between prey and predators? That's why Judy and Nick's friendship is so meaningful. But in the last movie, everyone thought predators were the big problem, when in reality, the villain was a sheep. And now, in this movie, we learn the villain is a predator, showing that anyone in this universe can be evil. And why is that important? Simple. There will definitely be a Zootopia 3, and the next villain will probably be from a completely different species. Maybe aquatic mammals trying to sink Zootopia? We've already seen dolphins in this movie. Could that be the future? Hat. Going back to the scene where Nick and Judy pretend to be a couple, if you pay close attention to the fox's hat, you'll notice the image of the paw-shaped popsicle he used to sell in the first movie after tricking Officer Hops. Even though it was a scam, it looks like Nick's popsicle became famous. Traffic light. A very interesting detail about the traffic lights in the city of Zootopia is that both the red stoplight and the green go light show the image of a group of gnus. That's because gnus are the kind of animals that move in herds, and when they start running, it's very easy for accidents to happen. So it makes perfect sense that they would be the symbol of traffic in Zootopia. Television. Another interesting detail is that when Judy is watching TV, the channel on the screen is ZNN. And that's a fun trick because it references the real-world news channel CNN. Did you notice that? YouTube. In the Zootopia universe, the character Nibbles, who is a female beaver, has a podcast on a video platform. If you watch closely, this is actually a double Easter egg. First, because the site is called YouTube, which is a reference to YouTube. And the second reference is that it's also a nod to all the video podcast shows that exist on the internet nowadays. Bags. Speaking of references to famous brands, there's a scene where Judy and Nick are taken to a handbag factory, and the factory name is Ganucci. This is an Easter egg for the famous handbag brand Gucci, which every girl dreams of owning. The funny part is that this factory belongs to Mr. Big's daughter, the mafia boss of Zootopia. Judy and Nick meet Nibbles. Email, thanks to a tip from Mr. Big's daughter. And in that scene, we can see that her email is written as Yeehaw, which is a big reference to the real-world email service Yahoo. Don't forget, subscribing is the easiest way to make sure you never miss any of our videos. Number. Still looking at Nibbles' business card, there's a phone number under the email, and the number is 800-555-0199. This number is fake. It's the one used in all Hollywood movies and animated films whenever they need to show a phone number. If you go back to the beginning of the movie, when Judy and Nick are investigating the prom buffet van, you'll notice the number is the same. Armchair. Still in the handbag factory scene, if you pay close attention to the armchair where Mr. Big and his daughter are sitting, the chair's armrests are shaped like cheese. That's a pretty cool detail, don't you think? Post-it. Another detail appears in the scene where the leopard is using the computer at the police station. There's a post-it note that says Chidge, and someone named Molly needs to update it. This is computer jargon that indicates one of the passwords needs to be changed. It's a small detail, but a very fun one. Jacket. An interesting detail near the end of the movie is that the lizard who helped Judy and Nick shows up wearing a green jacket that looks very similar to the same shirt worn by the villain Pobbert, who pretended to be a nice guy. Is that a clue that he might be a villain in the next movie? It's very possible because based on Zootopia 2's story, the lizards have many reasons to want revenge. But we're not giving spoilers. Ending. And finally, the movie ends with Judy and Nick going after former Mayor Bellweather, who had escaped, but the movie doesn't show them catching her. So did they manage to do it? Enjoying it? Then click one of the two videos we left on the screen and keep going going with us. See you next time!